So in this Lightburn tutorial, what we are going to do is we are going to learn how to bring in a photograph or some kind of colorful image, and we're going to learn how to edit it. And we're going to do a couple of tools that are external to Lightburn to help us that. And we're also going to show you a couple of internal Lightburn tools to help you with it. Okay. So let's first get a photograph. So to keep with our cat theme is I just said cat photo. And so I found this cat. So I'm going to grab this cat. So I've saved this cat again. Make sure it's a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF. So I've got this cat saved in my downloads folder. So it's just like in our previous one. I'm going to go to File, Import. And there's my cat. Let's import them. All right, notice Lightburn imports it as a black and white image because you can't engrave on color. All right, now in Lightburn, it has its own photo processors. Okay, and notice I've got my image, and I like having my photos in its own layer. So I'm going to put this in layer 3. And now notice my little marching ants turns around to be light green. Okay. Now, in my layer image, okay, when I double click on that 03, it brings up this window. So I'm going to change this name to cat photo so I know what my image is, so I don't confuse it with my other image up there. That's why sometimes it can be useful to delete your images if you're not using them. Okay. Now, under here where it says image mode, these are different algorithms that you can use to be able to take a photograph and convert it into a laserable image. Because remember, what the laser is it's converting your image into a bunch of dots, right? Because a laser beam is really just a lasering dots onto the piece of wood. And there's different ones. I tend to go with Stuckey or Jarvis. And you can kind of see what it's doing down here is it's taking it and it's converting it into a bunch of dots. And this is where you kind of have to play around a little bit with it. And we're usually pretty decent luck with going at a speed of 1,000 and about 40 for the settings. And you can go with that. And then you can test it out and see how it goes. Our recommendation, if you go just with Lightburn, is you take your image and you do it really small scale in a corner of maybe a used piece of wood or a scrap piece of wood, so you can nail your settings before you make it big, because the photos are going to go slow, okay, if you make it big, because it has to scan the entire image, okay, and it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right, so if I make this image really big and I preview it, okay, the preview isn't very great, but notice it's going to take 1 hour and 49 minutes, right? So it's going to be slow. So you want to make sure you get your settings right. Okay. Now, let's use a different website. Okay. So we're going to go back into Google, and if you type in image-r as your Google search term, it's going to bring up this website called Image-R. Okay. Now, they limit you to the number of uploads you can do per day. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're really ready to go. Okay, it's free for those numbers per day. You can always buy a subscription to it. It's not terribly pricey. But here's what it can do for you with your image. Okay, so let's upload my image here that I have. All right, so you can pick the image that you have. All right, so am I going to be grayscaling it, right? Or am I going to be using it for like a color printer? I'm going to grayscale, so because I'm using it for a laser. Okay, so I'm going to go to downloads. There's my photo. And there's my image. I can crop it, I can resize it as I want. It's completely up to you. You can add some text to it. Okay. So let's say I want to crop it a little bit. Maybe I want to crop the side here a little. So you just move it over, just like any other crop tool. And I'm just going to click crop. All right. Now, let's add material. All right. So now you've got lots of options. All right. We're going to play around with a couple of these, but this is where you're going to experiment. Okay. So these are different algorithms. Okay. And so that's what the names represent, are different ways of taking an image and converting it into a form that a laser can utilize. And then you can pick your material that you're going to use it on. So we're going to use wood. Okay. And so I've had good luck with the Cassia, the Marson, the Nero one. So let's click Nero. Okay. So we're going to do Nero wood. And we're going to click OK. All right, so now it's got my image. So this is what it's looking like. And you can kind of see where it's changed the image, right? All of these is how it's going to look. And you can do some adjustments over here. Okay? So gamma is how sharp between your black and whites. So I'm going to double that. And let's see how it's going to look. There you go. Oh, no, I think I wanted it better the other way. Yep, see where I've got this nice kind of, the cat's fur white is better against the background. Maybe let's half it and see what happens. Yeah, see now I think the background is going to be too dark. So I think we'll keep that at 1. Okay. You can play around with the contrast, same thing. Let's crank it up to 100 and see what happens. All right, that changes the relative relationships of the blacks and the whites. Oh, no, I'm going to get it back to where it was. Okay. You can change the brightness of the image. Right, I just washed it out. So let's go back to home base. And it also has a little auto adjustment. So I'm going to let it run its auto and see how it works. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good here. And if you want to, it has this one touch button. It has a little AI algorithm running in the back. So let's run it, see what we think. There you go. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. All right. And so oftentimes you can just run the one touch and you're going to get something that's going to look pretty good. And you can then go over here and you can see how it's changed the gamma adjustments. And that's how you can begin to figure out what might be good settings for your images. Okay. All right. So then all that you have to do is you download this image. And I'm going to download it as a ping. I like downloading as ping because it preserves more information. There's my ping. And notice it attaches Nero on the end of it. So now let's go back into Lightburn. I'm going to move my cat image off. In fact, I'm going to delete my cat image now. I'm going to now go to File, Import. There's my Nero cat. I'm going to open it. There he is. All right. I'm going to shrink him down. Okay. Now, in my cat photo, notice it automatically imported it to number 3. Let's click on it because there's a setting we have to change. You see where it says pass through is off. Okay. If that is defaulted on, okay, it's going to use your image R settings. If it's off, which is what it should have been, notice you get these options for Lightburn. That means whatever setting you had in Lightburn is what it's going to use. So if you forget to change this setting to pass through, it's going to ignore everything you did in Lightburn. So if you edit your image in image R and import it, make sure you turn on pass through, because notice now your image mode is grayed out. So it's going to use those algorithm settings from image R, and you will get a better image. Okay, your speed and power settings can stay the same. Again, it is still useful if you haven't used your laser before to oftentimes to take a little small photograph and laser it first and see how the settings turn out. Then put it on the size that you want, if you don't already have a sense with your laser on what your right settings for a photograph. Okay. But that's it. That's one way on how you do photographs. In the other video that's coming up, I'm going to show you how you can convert something into, say, like a vector format. Say you have a logo or something like that. And we're going to actually pick the BC logo for that one.